Might help if I'm off mute. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I hope you're having a lovely Thursday. I had to check exactly what day it was. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. But yes, welcome to our Like a Ninja stream for the 22nd. We're going to be talking a little bit about IT certifications today, kind of what people are doing to make sure that their team is kind of set up for success when it comes to continuing education. Um, and yeah, we're going to talk to some people of, various different companies and job titles and things like that. And we're going to kind of learn from them and see what they do as far as continuing education goes. So let me go ahead and bring everybody to the stage. Hello, y'all.
Hello.
Hello.
So basically, just wanted to bring y'all here today to talk about continuing education. We know that technology is constantly evolving. There are a vast number of things that you may want to learn that you might not have access to in your day-to-day. So that makes continuing education even more important. So today we're going to talk about the challenges when it comes to continued education and certifications. That might be finding the time, finding the motivation, finding the money. That's especially important. And then proving the value of education and certifications outside of your IT team. So proving value to other parts of the organization. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone. So Cynthia, do you want to kick us off talking a little bit about how long you've been in IT, how you got started, and what your job is right now?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia. I am the owner and CTO of an MSP called WDCS located in South Florida. I've been in IT a really long time. I'm gonna date myself here, well over 30 years. We focus mainly on the health sector. So we consider ourselves a healthcare MSP, although we do have other clients in other fields as well, because we've been doing this a long time. So we've accumulated a vast spackling of different types of work sectors.
Sweet. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. What is your background as far as certifications, both receiving certifications and then also giving certifications to employees?
I have as far as certifications go, as well as college degrees, I have 2 masters and a PhD. And when it comes to IT certifications, I have a slew of certifications, and I am always certifying in different skill sets and products. Um, I don't necessarily believe that certifications are always necessary, but as an MSP, our people do get certified in as many things as possible, and of course, we take care of the costs of that for our employees.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, cool. So I'll circle back on kind of some follow-up questions, but I'm going to move on to Drew. Drew, do you want to introduce yourself, how long you've been in IT, and what your job is right now?
Hello. So firstly, Jonathan's not here to say hello, my fellow ninjas. And I've got a colleague in chat that said he would leave if I didn't say hello, my fellow ninjas. So hello, my fellow ninjas. So I have been in IT only for 4 years. I think I'm out of all, the ninja panelists, I'm quite fresher. Previously, I worked in the customer services. So certifications, it's something that sort of helped me change career path. So full time, I am a systems administrator in a law firm in England. Part time, I'm doing my PhD. What certifications I have, I've sort of been on hold a little bit at the moment, been focusing more on the academic side, but just got I guess the standard ones for people progressing into the career, like like A plus, Sec plus. I do have ITIL, Foundation. So I work in like internal IT, so not sort of like an MSP. We'll have lots of members in the IT team, a quite small team. I do just have sort of one person that I'm in charge of, but we are trying to get him certified. He's doing these Microsoft certifications at the moment. That's something he expressed interest in. So I haven't got that certification myself, but I think it's quite good. We're going to have a balance on the team of what people can do. Oh, and also I've got my dog here too, Roxy.
Oh my gosh, what's your dog's name?
Roxy.
Roxy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's a lap dog, so I just thought she might pop up sometimes. I just thought to warn people. Got a dog.
I do the same thing usually with my pets, but hopefully we're not gonna
You had one
encounter
before, but
that.
I think they've gone away now. Your cat was there.
Yeah, he might be on the counter at some points. We were having some issues before the stream where he just kept jumping on the counter, so I kept trying to get him down. And then unfortunately, my dog is in her crate because she will just run around and start chasing the cat or something. So you might hear her whining at some point, like right now. But yeah, anyway, so moving on to Jay, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do, where you work.
Sure. So I'm Jason Abbott. I'm the director of IT at Ninja One. Got my old school represent Ninja RMM shirt going. Like Cynthia, I've been in IT since Noah installed the first servers on the Ark, and he did not do a very good job, to say. As far as certifications, one of my big things that I was very proud of for a long time is I was one of the first 10,000 Red Hat certified engineers in the United States. That was a million years ago. They don't even use they have like social security number length RHCE certification numbers now. So, but I have a whole alphabet soup, and I encourage my team always, every year. I put money in my budget for training, and I make sure to force my guys to go use that money, because if they don't, then they're doing themselves a disservice. I had a CIO that I worked for many years ago who put training in the best way. So somebody asked me once, what happens if we train people and they leave? And my response to that is, what if we don't train them and they stay?
That's a very good point. Yeah, I mean, you have people on the team that, they're as good as their intentions might be. If they're not trained up and don't have certifications and don't have training, it's kind of hard to you're gonna have to do a lot more hand holding. You're gonna have to do a lot more, hands-on work. Whereas if they have kind of the certifications and training they need, they might be able to take on a lot of those tasks on their own. So, well, awesome. Thank y'all so much. That was great. And I would love to kind of jump into some of the questions that I have. So first and foremost, kind of want to know what you find valuable with continued education. And then, on the same topic, how important are these certifications in IT? And it could be certifications, it could be training, but just would love to know what y'all feel is kind of what the importance of continued education is when it comes to managing an IT team.
I'll start with that. I think training is essential. Of course, nothing is going to replace real world scenarios, but training gives you that foundation, and your certification shows that you were diligent in your training, so that you have been trained to do a service or learn a software or policies or something of that nature. I think it's very important. I know a lot of employers don't necessarily believe in certifications, but believe in training. But certifications also are not going to negate me from looking at an employee that may instead have real world experience for a number of years. But definitely, I, I like I said, certifications, certifications, certifications. You can't have too many because you can't know too much.
Yeah. Are there any specific certifications that you feel are kind of most impactful? And this could be a question for everyone, but are there certifications that when you see them, you kind of feel like they might have a good, like well-rounded background or anything like that that you're looking for?
I think, and of course, it's changed over the years, but an MCSE, an MCSA, or an MCITP to me shows somebody is well rounded in Microsoft. Um, Microsoft has branched out quite a bit and has a lot of other smaller certifications if somebody was to have a job um, that was more specific. But as far as like a well-rounded, um, I would say Microsoft is probably one of the top.
For me, it depends on what I'm hiring the people for. In my business apps team, I want the people to be certified in the apps we're supporting, right? So if they're supporting um, Exchange Online, I definitely want to see those certifications. Even older ones show, like you said, the commitment to learning the material and getting that certification. To me, it's like, the certification is a natural outcome of the training. And if you don't earn the certificate, then the question is, how much of it did you learn? How much of it did you retain? But I don't. Certificates aren't make or break on a hiring decision for me. But they certainly, when you have equally skilled applicants, and one is more highly certified or has is in the process of obtaining on their own or whatever, these higher level certifications, that definitely does show a different level of work ethic, in my opinion.
I think to offer a different perspective is sort of somebody that looked for certifications to do to change my career. Sort of when you're a standalone person going about it yourself, you just type in on Google what IT certification. A lot of like the recommendation is like the CompTIA ones. I know what Jason and Cynthia were saying were quite sort of more specific. Well, not more specific, but like you wanted Microsoft ones, you wanted apps ones. But I guess just for a general IT professional, out there on the web, it does sort of recommend, you start with A+, which it can be quite a basic one. But I think coming from somewhere that I had nothing to do with IT in my well, I did IT, but no like IT certifications, no IT role specifically. Something like that is a good baseline to prove that you have the standard knowledge. But when we were recruiting for somebody recently, we wanted a junior in the team that we could grow. So we could sort of, they didn't have to have any certifications or anything. They just had to have sort of like a passion for IT. And we wanted then from that junior person, we would then get them trained up, get them to do the certifications they want to do. But I don't know if it was a bit, because that was a junior role we were looking for. And when I was looking for a job, I perhaps wanted something not sort of like the apprentice, not like a junior level. I wanted something a bit more, because I had a bit more of experience with, another stream idea I've had is about like customer services. I think a lot of IT is customer service related. I've got quite a lot of customer service skills. So I thought I could use that to elevate myself up a bit. So yeah, I feel like when you look online, a lot of places as well, they're trying to push you buy this course. It's quite expensive. It's sort of an individual learning. Going about it yourself, it is quite hard to know what is legit, what employers want from you, and what is worth your time to do.
Oh yeah. In the IT leadership lab, I put together an IT certification matrix, and I definitely didn't include all of the certifications that there are out there, but it was already overwhelming kind of looking at it and going, wow, there are just countless certifications out there for so many different job titles, job levels, specialties. So completely understand. It can get kind of overwhelming when you see the sheer number of certifications that are out there. So I guess another question that I have for y'all is how you encourage your team to pursue continued education. So both time-wise and money, because I know that IT teams can often feel constrained with time. And just curious how you are able to encourage your team and find that time and money.
So I put it as part of their annual performance objectives. Everybody has to take three training classes. 2 are technically related to their job, and one of them has to be a personal development course. I put it in my budget every year. I put it in everyone's performance review.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, where I work. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. We do something similar where, based on your position, you're required to take training. However, we do a lot during the workday for a few hours of training, depending on what that certification you're receiving is, and then also there are after hours required, because look, some of these you if you're just going to do an hour or two a day during the week, it's going to take you a long time. But we do allow for paid time for that training as well as paid training, and it is a requirement for the position. So, say if you were supporting Ninja, you would be required to have that Ninja cert.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, where I work, because it's a law firm, they've got quite a big budget because continued training is quite a big thing that solicitors have to show that they've got to enable them to actually practice law. So we sort of borrow, I guess, a bit of that budget for the IT training, but we haven't got like a set amount that we're allowed to use. So we do have access to like training platforms, but I guess we haven't got what the other ninjas have here, where each person has access to their own perhaps budget or their own defined objectives of what they're going to achieve. It's more sort of personally driven, guided somewhat by sort of what I wanted my colleague to do and what he wants to do, and then what I wanted to do as an individual. But budget wise, we had to ask the training partner where I work, can we have some money to get this IT certification.
Mm-hmm.
I guess going back to another point, I think that Jason made about if you don't pay for these qualifications and people leave, we do, some places have a clause in place, don't they, about like if you leave within a certain length of time, you have to pay so much back. So it is, I guess, if like people have a pushback from higher up saying, we can't just pay for all of this if people are going to leave, that you do have those clauses in place, but they're quite generous where I work. We haven't got that in place yet, but I think we're going to do a few certifications that we can have, I guess, for free on the business. But as you're saying, Brittany, there's so many out there. If we wanted to do every single one, it would be an immense cost to the company, probably bankrupt them. So at some point, there has to be a clause in place to say, no, you can't have everything. Be sensible.
Yeah. So when you are trying to find budget and are talking to maybe people that approve budgets, how do you kind of prove value to maybe executives or other people in the organization on the value of certifications?
Well, I am the final approval for the budget.
Great. Just make yourself the top approver and everything's good.
Yeah,
That works.
but I mean, I would also say, as far as being an MSP, when you are selling your services, your clients want to know that you can support them fully. And we absolutely tout that our people are certified in the products that they're using so that we can support them. And that's definitely a big selling point. And I think, for us, that makes the money spent absolutely well worth it, because
Mhm.
we all know it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
I think some certifications are free as well. I know somebody's just asking in the chat about the Ninja one, but there's other ones as well. So I guess it's not just the budget in terms of, I guess, cost, but also time. I guess that was something you were saying,
Mhm.
Brittany, about how do you make sure people have time to do that. I think, it's sort of hard if you have people on the help desk wanting to do training. You need to make sure work within your team that there's cover for everybody to be able to do that.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of free ones out there, though. Sometimes I did a Mimecast one I think it was last year I did, and so I managed to get that approved. My boss had asked the training partner, can we have money to get this? And the next year it became a free as part of the Mimecast subscription. So that was a bit of a letdown, but it is good now that it's open for anybody who's a customer of Mimecast to have. So there's a lot of free options out there that are still reputable certifications, still useful to have, definitely. But yeah, definitely the time element as well, that is quite a thing you need to consider on colleagues and staff.
Yeah, to that end, I will regularly, if it's a product that we want certification on, when it comes time for license renewals, I tell them you're going to have to give me certification seats. We just added we added into our contracts on products for the more generic certifications like Microsoft. Microsoft used to be really good about rolling in a lot of continuing education credits, and they've sort of walked a lot of that back. But with our partnerships with the vendors that we use to buy this software, a lot of them will have the ability to add in free training credits and whatnot, and then you just have to worry about the time commit, as Drew was talking about. So
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you balance that whenever you have people, like you mentioned, Drew, that are on help desk and they are having to answer tickets? How do you try to encourage them to fit that time in when they might have kind of a variety of different tasks on their plate?
So by making it part of their performance review, all of the supervisors are aware we have to make time for training. It's got to be part of, everybody has to have time. So we're lucky at Ninja that because we have locations around the world, we can do a follow the sun support model. So we can easily, end of the day, beginning of a day, somebody can take an hour, 2 hours, whatever, to work that out, and they schedule that within their group.
Mhm.
Yeah, same for us. It's scheduled in,
Okay.
so that we know who's doing what. And again, not everybody can schedule at the same time, so there's a block.
Mhm.
So you have to get on the schedule, and that has to be approved
Okay.
before you can take the time to do that. Because again, during the work week, it is a paid time that they're taking their courses on.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours isn't scheduled in. It's more, I guess, because we're a smaller team, we can just look over and see how busy everybody is. It's more based on downtime. But obviously, if we're going to do an exam or something, we would schedule that time in to make sure there's definitely enough cover. So I guess sometimes something else to consider as well is if people want to do certifications that aren't, I guess, or learn something that's not necessarily related to their job, is it okay for them to do that during work time? So as I mentioned, I'm doing my PhD. It's in authentication. That's not really directly related to my job, and I don't really feel like I can do that on work's time because it's not going to be a direct benefit. But I guess there's other instances, if somebody wants to learn a different career path, is there a place for them in your organisation to do that? If they do that certification, are they allowed to spend their time when they should be doing work, or during their scheduled blocking time? Are they allowed to do that if it's not something that's set in their path in your organisation?
Mhm.
Right. We don't allow that during work hours, but the company that we subscribe with offers tons of certifications. So you're given a budget, and And if you need to go above that budget, you have to get it approved. But those are certifications that you can get on your own time. However, there is a time limit. So if you're going to take a certification course that is a 4-week course and you're going to take that on your own time, you have it approved, you have to take that certification, you have to finish that course within the allotted 4 weeks. If you
Mhm.
don't, you have to pay back 50% of the cost of the course.
Okay. Yeah.
Since for my team, one of their requirements is that at least one of the 3 courses they take is personal development, not necessarily professional. That can be counted in their time. They just work out with their team how much time they need to block out of the day, and whether it's doing the professional training courses that are related to the job or the one extra one that they have to do. But I fully believe that personal development is just as important as professional development courses are. So in my case, like if one of them was working on a PhD or whatever, or their master's or even their bachelor's, by all means, take an hour during the day to do that, because you'll end up as a better employee for it. You'll be happier, and that's really what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. As far as finding, um, I don't know if you use specific portals or specific vendors that have a lot of certifications, but how do you actually administer the training? What kind of sources do you use?
One of the ones that we contract with was IT Pro TV, which has now become ACS. And they have a portal. So they have an admin portal, and they have a portal for your employees. You purchase it based on how many seats you require, and you can add seats as you go. Um, and the nice thing about it is it tracks all of their training time. So you're able to see how long they worked on a module, if they completed the module. And then, of course, if it's something that requires a proctored test, you'll then get the completion that you can send over to Pearson or whoever you're using for your proctoring.
We're not really as mature as that, I guess, because we're such a smaller place. There's only 4 people in the IT team. We do have a CBT Nuggets subscription, but nothing quite as good as what it sounds like you've got, Cynthia, or your team, Jason.
Well, honestly, we use CBT Nuggets as well. So we don't just have one, because not any one provider is going to have all the certs you require. And then again, there are the certifications, say like Ninja One, that you're going to get from Ninja One, and of course that is included uh, if you're a Ninja One customer. And there are many out there that do the same, that have their own training, that Fortinet, Juniper, things like that, that can be included if you're already a, a partner or a customer.
So whenever you have employees that maybe either just got started in IT or feel a little stuck and don't know what certifications to go for, how do you kind of guide them in the right direction, and kind of help them find what they're wanting to do? Um, are there any that you would recommend right off the bat? Things like that.
I guess the question there is, what does the employee, one, is the employee looking for certifications for a specific role at an employer, or are they current, or are they looking for something future? I would always say start with A+, always, depending on where they're at, even if they're already seasoned and they don't have an A+. I know a lot of employers frown on IT professionals that don't have an A+. I have an A+, but my A+ is from the early 90s.
Mine
So
too.
it's a lot different than the than the current A+. A lot different. I'm glad that I don't have to retake it. because I have my A plus, so that's all that matters. But I do know in talking to people that a lot of them find that if you don't have an A plus, they really frown on that. And personally, I can look back on A plus and say, I really don't need to know. People today don't need to know what a Centronics connector is. Um, but um, but I think it's important. I mean, it's that basic, like Drew was saying, it's that basic stepping stone to show that you have the foundation of of and to move forward. So you've got somewhere to start. I'm not just throwing you in to get an AWS certification. You've got
Mhm,
that basic knowledge. So I think that that probably is the first one to recommend. And then again, what is it that you're going to do? Are you going to work on cloud? Are you going to work on hybrid? Are you going to be a software person? Are you going to be a hardware person? So those will all then drive the certification route for that person.
mhm,
Yeah, I do think the A plus is it's quite well rounded, and it does give you an introduction into different um areas of IT, I guess. Because there's 2 exams you have to do now. I did mine like maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. There's like 2 exams you have to do. So one is more hardware based and one's more software based. But it does give you a good understanding. I think one thing that's different from when you did it, Cynthia, is it's not like a forever certification now. You do have to keep recertifying yourself. You either have to do you've got to do continued learning. So you've got to, it's like a portal you've got to go on. You've got to say, I've done this many hours related to IT. This is the projects I've done. There's so many points and different categories you can associate with it. Or they have the idea where you can do it's like I can't remember what it's called, but you go on and you answer questions. You do that instead of doing the professional hours. Or you can get a higher level cert, and that recertifies your A plus automatically and the things underneath it. One thing I don't like about certifications is that idea now, though, that you have to keep paying. It's these people, they want to get the money. I did ITIL 4 foundations, and useful enough what I learned in it. If I ever wanted to go into like project management, that sort of thing, but there's a cost every year, and it wasn't really clear to begin with that I had to do that. I had to keep paying to keep it certified. Luckily though, my employer, they do pay for professional subscriptions because it's classed as that. But yeah, to keep your certification on the go now, you either have to do a higher one, or something, you've got to do a higher one, or keep proving that you've done work related to it.
Wow.
Yeah, they
Which one?
definitely do treat them a lot more like licenses now,
Mhm.
as like a professional license that you have to keep renewing. I That's definitely something that they've evolved to in the last few years.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things now that are just a yearly or monthly cost that it just keeps adding up and adding up to so many subscriptions, and it's very overwhelming, and especially if you have more than one certification like that. How do you decide, what you need to spend money on? And yeah, it can be very, very challenging.
And there are
Um,
many certifications that eventually are depreciated and replaced by something else as the technology advances.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I've actually thought about, because I've been in IT, not in IT, I've been doing IT community management and stuff like that for like 11 years now. I have thought about getting my A plus cert just because I think it would be helpful to kind of have that baseline knowledge, but I still haven't done it. I've talked to Jonathan about it a number of times and I still haven't done it, but y'all are inspiring me that maybe I should just go ahead and jump into it. To have a little bit more knowledge, kind of a baseline knowledge of IT. And yeah, I think that definitely helps pretty much anybody that's going into IT to have that baseline level. So I wanted to ask y'all specifically about certifications for yourselves. So not implementing them with your team, but I wanted to know how certifications have impacted your career and what kind of effect that they have had on your career growth personally.
Well, I'll say when I first got into IT, back in the day, the certifications were really the best thing that would move your career forward, right? That was largely anytime you were looking to go from a junior level to a mid-level, or from an associate to a mid-level or whatever, or up to a senior level, you had to have some or many certifications that were relevant to what you were doing. Once you move into management, they stop being, the technical certifications at least stop being really important, in the more skill-based, like the ITIL, the understanding of process management and process mapping, and even things like PMPs and whatnot start to become more useful. But I haven't seen any like management certifications that are not tied to a degree program or something in a higher education capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, getting certifications, it was a sort of a talking point in an interview, and it was it proved that I was actually trying to do that. I was interested in changing my career. It wasn't just sort of like fancy that I want to go and work in IT now. I'm willing to put that time in to get myself trained up. I'm willing to learn how to do this sort of thing. But I do think that it's not the only thing you need to have. Obviously, interpersonal skills are important. And I think no matter what you've done in your career, you can justify and apply your skills you've learned to other areas. But I guess there is some specific knowledge that you sort of need to have in IT, not specific, but general knowledge that A+ or something like that gives you, that baseline understanding or confidence with computers that you need to be successful, really.
Yeah, for me, probably, like it was said back in the day, certifications were what was going to get you the job. So I was all about getting certified, and in the 90s, they're my late 90s, early 2000s, probably my greatest accomplishment at that point was to have my MCSE. And then going on many years later, MCITP, and I just keep going down the Microsoft offering. But for me personally, in my position as a company owner, nobody cares if I have a certification or not. Nobody's going to hold me to it. But what if something happened and I sold my company and I decided to go work for someone else? So I think those are important. Again, I want to stress that real world scenario and real world experience is just, to me, is just as valuable. But again, that certification proves that when you were doing that real world experience, you were doing it correctly. So I continue to certify because I want to be able to support my staff as well, and to be the maybe second set of eyes to say, yes, this is being done correctly, or when you're stumped, let's take a look at this. So it's valuable for me to also know the product, so to speak, since most certifications now are based on on softwares. So it's just valuable for as many to have more than one person certified in something, because we're small, but we're still a larger small company. So we don't just have one person that handles A and one person that handles B. We tend to cross over.
Mhm. Are there any non-technical certifications that y'all have found helpful?
I'd like to say my college education was very helpful in business. I'd like to say that.
Honestly,
um,
the business accounting class I took was probably one of the most helpful things that I took.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
to
yeah.
your point, Cynthia, about the education, your college education. For me, the most important class was that business accounting class for dealing with
yeah.
budgets and whatnot.
Yeah, I think those were probably the most important. And then, of course, we hired somebody who had a PMP as well, um, in our HR department, which was was helpful in other
Mhm,
aspects of the business as well. I personally don't have a PMP, um, but I again, nobody cares if I have any certifications, but I care because again, I want to be able to support. And I feel like if I'm going to have people getting certified because they're using a product or they want to use a product, they want to support a product, that it's important that I follow the same suit.
mhm,
Yeah, my undergraduate was in maths, so nothing really directly applicable to sort of any career directly, I guess. But the skills you learn from maths, the way you learn to think, it's great for problem solving, which is what IT is.
mhm,
Um, as I said before, I think no matter what you've done, you learn skills that you can use to your advantage in changing careers in IT. You've always got something you can use and you can rely on. In terms of non-technical certifications, I can't think of any that aren't just like general, like normal education like that you get, and like academic education.
mhm,
I guess maybe I would maybe argue that my ITIL foundation wasn't technical,
mhm.
about like buzzwords, I would say.
Um,
But
yeah, yeah. I
it was useful. It's useful, when you get like project management software.
mhm,
When I started working in my company, we had Fresh Service and it had all these ITIL tools. I was like, oh, I know all about this.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not technical, but it's still useful, I guess. But as I said, I don't like the idea that I have to pay every year for it. Be
Yeah.
really offended by that.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you already spend money on it and then you keep having to spend money on it, it's tough. Well, awesome. So those are kind of all the questions I had. Is there anything else any other topics or points that y'all want to make that maybe I didn't cover um, in talking about certifications?
I was just going to address a comment I saw Jeff Ford make in the chat there about experience and certifications gives you a better chance of employment than having a college degree, and it's cheaper. That is true. I will 100% back that, but I will also point out that there are companies, typically like larger corporate entities, that have hard requirements that you must have a degree. The only reason I have a bachelor's degree is because I was told I couldn't even be interviewed for a promotion that I wanted because they had a hard requirement that that position had a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot, where the requirement is a bachelor's degree.
Mhm.
Um, and if you've been somewhere for a extended period of time and you started when you were younger and could work your way up, it wasn't as necessary at that employer. But once you left, even if you left with 10 years experience,
Mhm,
even to get your resume looked at, again, you had to have that bachelor's degree.
mhm. Yeah. Um, Well, thank y'all so much for joining. I really, really appreciate this. Very, very enlightening. You've encouraged me to look into more certifications. I don't know what kind of community management certifications exist out there. And I've never really looked into it because, you know,
Yeah, I'm
I,
sure there are some around babysitting,
yeah,
herding
yeah,
cats, maybe.
yeah. So, um, how I can best use memes and GIFs
Perfect,
in
exactly.
in
You can take the
Discord
Facebook
servers,
course.
making my own emojis for Discord. Yeah, great. um, well, awesome. Thank y'all so much. Um, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about the IT Leadership Lab, which is something that we are spinning up here at Ninja. I just dropped the link to it in the chat, but basically, we are building an IT leader community so that IT leaders can interact with each other and talk specifically about IT leadership topics. They can share templates, which are called blueprints. They can ask questions to a panel of experts and kind of chat with each other about anything within the realm of IT leadership, whether that is budgeting or hiring or managing employees, things that IT leaders often don't get trained on whenever they are promoted. And hopefully, we'll build up a community of IT leaders that can learn from each other. So if you are interested in joining, I did drop the link in the chat, but it's also at the itleadershiplab.com. I think Robin may have just changed the QR code to send to there. So if you guys want to scan that, you can go to the IT Leadership Lab and sign up there. We're also going to be doing a stream next week where we'll be talking with a panel of IT leaders, talking about their journey within the IT realm, how they got started in IT and how they were kind of worked up to IT manager, IT director. But yes, so if y'all would like to join, that link is up there and in the chat. And Drew, I just saw that you got absolutely crushed by dogs there.
Yeah, they've run away now because my boyfriend's here putting his jacket on. I think it's time to go out, perhaps, is it? Yeah, that's my life. I find it really hard to work because I have dogs constantly on my lap, on my keyboard. They like to go to sleep on my keyboard. Like, no, get your head off there, please.
You
So,
accidentally send messages to people in
yeah. Maybe certification, please, on how to control my dogs would be useful for me. Thanks, in terms of non-technical one.
Yeah.
You need to get a decoy keyboard, so they'll lay on a decoy keyboard, and you can have your regular
Oh,
keyboard.
That actually works. I used that with my cat for many years. She had her own keyboard to lay on.
My
wow.
sister does that too with her cats.
Yeah. And
I
you just have to make sure that you touch it every once in a
Mhm.
while so that it seems like it's a good used keyboard, and
yeah.
they fall for it every time.
Yeah, I thought about doing that with my cats but I work on my laptop most of the time, so they just climb on my laptop.
It's nice and warm.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, if they have, I probably do need to get certified in how to take care of a dog because an 8-month-old puppy is a little bit hard to wrangle. So, well, awesome. Thank y'all so much. I know we're ending a little bit early, but I think that there was some really, really awesome information shared here, and yeah, just thank y'all so much. I appreciate the time. And if y'all have any questions, feel free in the chat. If anybody has any questions, feel free to jump into our Discord and you could follow up with us there. And we'll also have the recording there as well. So you can kind of refer back to this. But yeah, awesome.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
thank y'all.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
All right.
Bye.